Hello, and welcome to another video where we explore the history and myths of the world. Take a seat, lean back, and enjoy the video. For nearly 1,000 years, a single object has captured the imagination of kings, warriors, historians, and treasure hunters. A relic said to hold the greatest secrets of Christianity. A cup believed by some to possess unimaginable power. A treasure that inspired knights to leave their homes and risk their lives searching for it. The Holy Grail. But behind the legends and the stories lies a question that has remained unanswered for centuries. Did the Holy Grail ever truly exist? Throughout history, humanity has searched for lost treasures, cities buried beneath the earth, gold hidden by forgotten civilizations, ancient artifacts that disappeared without a trace. But few searches have been as mysterious or as fascinating as the hunt for the Holy Grail. Unlike other treasures, the Grail is surrounded by questions. Was it a simple cup? Was it a sacred object connected to Jesus Christ? Was it a symbol created by medieval storytellers? Or was there something more hidden behind the legend? To understand the Holy Grail, we must travel back nearly 1,000 years to medieval Europe. This was a world shaped by kings, religion, warfare, and legends. The church influenced almost every part of daily life. Faith was not only a personal belief, it shaped politics, culture, and the way people understood the world around them. At the same time, stories of brave knights and impossible quests spread throughout Europe. These stories were not simply entertainment. They represented ideals of courage, honor, sacrifice, and devotion. During the Middle Ages, knights became symbols of everything society admired: strength, loyalty, courage. But the greatest knights were not only warriors. They were expected to be honorable and spiritually worthy. This created the perfect environment for a new kind of story. A story where the greatest knight would not search for gold, or land, or power. Instead, he would search for something far more valuable. A sacred object hidden somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary man. The Holy Grail. Surprisingly, the first known stories of the Holy Grail did not come from the Bible. They came from medieval literature. Around the year 1180, a French poet named Chrétien de Troyes introduced a mysterious object called the Grail in his unfinished romance story. In his tale, the Grail was not clearly described as the cup of Jesus. Instead, it was a mysterious and sacred object connected to wonder and mystery. The story captured the imagination of Europe. Other writers soon began adding new details. And slowly, the Grail began transforming from a mysterious object into a legendary Christian relic. Over time, writers connected the Grail with one of Christianity's most important moments: the Last Supper. According to later legends, the cup used by Jesus during his final meal became the most sacred object in the world. Some stories claim that Joseph of Arimathea, a follower of Jesus, later used the cup to collect blood from Jesus during the crucifixion. According to legend, Joseph carried the sacred vessel away and protected it from those who wanted to destroy it. From that moment forward, the Grail became more than a treasure. It became a symbol of faith itself. Legends about Joseph of Arimathea expanded over the centuries. Some stories claimed he traveled across Europe carrying the Grail. Others said he founded secret communities dedicated to protecting it. According to these tales, the Grail was hidden away, waiting for a future generation to discover it. But historians face a major problem. These stories were written hundreds of years after the events they describe. They are powerful legends, but legends are not always history. As the Grail legend grew, it became connected with one of the most famous figures in medieval storytelling: King Arthur, the legendary ruler of Camelot. Around his famous round table gathered some of literature's greatest knights. In these stories, the search for the Holy Grail became the ultimate test of character. The knights were not searching simply for an object. They were searching for perfection, a chance to prove their courage, purity, and devotion. Among all the knights who searched for the Grail, one stood above the rest. Sir Galahad. Medieval writers described him as the perfect knight. Unlike others who searched for glory or fame, Galahad was driven by faith and humility. According to legend, he was the only knight pure enough to discover the Grail. His journey represented a deeper idea. The greatest treasures are not found by the strongest. They are found by those who are worthy. As stories of the Holy Grail spread, so did the search. Nobles collected supposed relics. Churches displayed sacred objects. Travelers followed rumors across Europe. Every generation added new pieces to the mystery. The Grail became a treasure that existed somewhere between history and imagination. For centuries, people have searched for the Holy Grail. Some searched with faith. Some searched for fame. Others searched for proof that the legends were true. But the greatest mystery remains. If the Holy Grail existed, where did it go? And who was protecting its secret? By the beginning of the 13th century, the legend of the Holy Grail had spread across Europe. What began as a mysterious object in medieval stories had become something much greater. It was now the ultimate symbol of faith, purity, and divine mystery. Kings wanted to be associated with it. Knights wanted to find it. And storytellers wanted to reveal its secrets. But the search for the Grail was about to become connected with one of the most dramatic periods in history, the Age of the Crusades. Between the 11th and 13th centuries, thousands of European knights traveled east during the Crusades. They journeyed toward the Holy Land, believing they were fighting for their faith. Along the way, they encountered ancient cities, forgotten ruins, and religious artifacts unlike anything they had seen before. The Crusades created a connection between Europe and the Middle East. New stories returned home. New legends were born. And among them was the belief that sacred treasures from the time of Jesus might still exist somewhere in the world. In medieval Europe, relics held enormous importance. A piece of bone belonging to a saint, a fragment of clothing, an object connected to biblical events. These items were believed to bring people closer to the divine. Relics could attract pilgrims from across Europe. They could increase the importance of a church or city, and they could become symbols of power. So the idea of possessing the cup connected to Jesus himself was almost unimaginable. The Holy Grail was not just valuable. It would have been considered the greatest relic in existence. As the legend developed, the Grail became inseparable from the stories of King Arthur and his knights. The Round Table represented equality among warriors. No knight was above another. All were united by honor and duty. But the Grail quest would reveal that bravery alone was not enough. Many knights were strong. Many were skilled warriors. But the legends claimed only one could succeed. The one who possessed the greatest purity of heart. According to medieval stories, Sir Galahad was the knight chosen to find the Holy Grail. His journey was filled with trials designed to test his character. He faced danger, temptation, and impossible challenges. While other knights searched for glory, Galahad searched for something higher. In the final moments of the legend, he discovers the Grail and experiences a vision of heaven. But after this moment, the Grail disappears once again, leaving humanity with the same mystery that remains today. Few groups in history have attracted as many Grail legends as the Knights Templar. Founded during the Crusades, the Templars became one of the most powerful military orders in medieval Europe. They protected pilgrims, they fought in the Holy Land, and they accumulated enormous wealth and influence. Over time, rumors began to spread. Some claimed the Templars had discovered ancient secrets beneath Jerusalem. Others claimed they had found the Holy Grail itself. But there is no historical proof that the Templars ever possessed the legendary relic. The connection between the Templars and the Grail remains one of history's most fascinating mysteries. In 1307, the Knights Templar faced a sudden and devastating downfall. King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of many Templar leaders. They were accused of crimes against the Church. After years of trials, the order was destroyed. Their wealth was seized. Their leaders were executed. But their disappearance created even more legends. Some believe they escaped with hidden treasures. Others claim they protected ancient secrets. And among those rumored secrets, some believed, was the Holy Grail. Many Grail legends share a common theme: the idea of guardians, a secret group responsible for protecting the sacred object until the right person discovers it. These stories created countless theories. Some claimed the Grail was hidden in remote castles. Others believed it was carried across Europe by secret organizations. But the more people searched, the more the Grail moved from history into mythology. While knights searched through legends, others searched for something they could actually hold: a real object, a physical cup. Over the centuries, several artifacts were claimed to be the true Holy Grail. Churches displayed ancient vessels. Religious leaders debated their authenticity. Pilgrims traveled thousands of miles hoping to see the object connected to Jesus. But proving the identity of such an ancient relic would be almost impossible. By the end of the medieval period, the Holy Grail had become more than a religious artifact. It had become a symbol of humanity's search for the unknown, a mystery that connected faith, history, and imagination. But the biggest question still remained: was there ever a real cup behind the legend? Or had centuries of storytelling created the world's greatest treasure that never existed? For centuries, people have searched for the Holy Grail. But after separating the legends from the stories, one question remains: was there ever a real object behind a myth? Did a cup connected to Jesus survive through history? Or did medieval storytellers create one of the greatest legends the world has ever known? To answer that question, we must leave the world of knights and legends and enter the world of history. According to Christian tradition, the Holy Grail is connected to the Last Supper, the final meal Jesus shared with his disciples before his crucifixion. During this meal, Jesus used a cup while sharing wine with his followers. For believers, the possibility that this exact object survived would make it one of the most important artifacts in human history. But historians face a difficult challenge. The Bible does not identify the cup as a special relic. It does not describe what happened to it afterward. The connection between the Last Supper and the Holy Grail appears centuries later through medieval traditions. One of the most important figures in the Grail legend is Joseph of Arimathea. According to Christian texts, Joseph was a wealthy man who provided the tomb where Jesus was buried. But later medieval stories expanded his role dramatically. They claimed Joseph collected the blood of Jesus using the sacred cup. They claimed he carried the Grail across distant lands. Some legends even connected him to the arrival of Christianity in Britain. However, historians have found no evidence confirming these journeys. Joseph of Arimathea exists in early Christian tradition, but the stories surrounding the Grail belong mostly to later medieval imagination. Among all objects claiming to be the true Holy Grail, one of the most famous is located in Spain, the Holy Chalice of Valencia. For centuries, this ancient cup has been honored by many believers as the actual vessel used by Jesus during the Last Supper. The chalice consists of a polished stone cup with later additions added over time. Supporters argue that its ancient appearance and historical journey make it a possible candidate. However, there is no definitive proof that it was the cup used by Jesus. Like many Grail mysteries, the evidence remains uncertain. The Holy Chalice of Valencia is not the only object connected to the Grail legend. Throughout history, several other cups and artifacts have been suggested as possible candidates. Some are found in churches. Others are preserved in museums. Some are surrounded by centuries of tradition. But each faces the same problem. There is no unbroken chain of evidence connecting any surviving object directly back to the time of Jesus. The longer the search continues, the more difficult it becomes to separate belief from historical proof. Imagine trying to identify an object from 2,000 years ago. an object that was never officially recorded, an object that may have been moved between countries, an object that may have been hidden, destroyed, or simply forgotten. This is the challenge historians face. Ancient history is often built from fragments, a few documents, a few artifacts, a few clues left behind by people who lived centuries ago. And sometimes, the truth disappears forever. Even in the modern era, the legend of the Holy Grail continued to attract powerful figures. During World War II, Nazi leaders became interested in ancient relics and symbols. Some members of the Nazi regime believed that discovering legendary artifacts could provide political and ideological power. The most famous figure connected to these searches was Heinrich Himmler, who supported investigations into ancient mysteries. Claims later emerged that the Nazis searched for the Grail. While some Nazi interest in relics is historically documented, many of the dramatic Grail hunting stories have been exaggerated over time. The mystery of the Holy Grail did not disappear. Instead, it entered a new age. Books, movies, and television transformed the Grail into a symbol of adventure. It became the treasure hidden at the end of the greatest quest, a mystery waiting for someone brave enough to solve it. These stories introduced the Grail to millions of people around the world, and with every new generation, the legend grew even stronger. The Holy Grail exists in a unique place between history and belief. A historian asks, what evidence can we prove? A believer may ask, what meaning does this object represent? Both questions are important, because the Grail is not only about finding a cup. It is about understanding why humans search for things that seem impossible to find. After hundreds of years of searching, the Holy Grail remains exactly what it has always been, a mystery. Some believe it is hidden somewhere, waiting to be discovered. Others believe it was never a physical object at all. Instead, it represents humanity's endless search for truth, faith, and meaning. But the legend is not finished, because even today, people continue searching. For more than 800 years, the Holy Grail has remained one of history's greatest mysteries. Empires have risen and fallen. Kingdoms have disappeared. Generations have come and gone. Yet the search for the legendary relic continues. Some search for evidence. Some search for faith. And some search because they believe that somewhere in the world, the greatest treasure in history is still waiting to be found. Today, the search for the Grail looks very different from the quests of medieval knights. There are no armies riding across Europe, no warriors searching through forests with swords in hand. Instead, modern researchers study ancient texts. They analyze archaeological discoveries. They compare legends with historical records. Their goal is not simply to find a legendary object. It is to understand how the legend was created and whether any part of it is based on reality. Few mysteries create more theories than the Holy Grail. Over the centuries, countless stories have suggested that secret organizations protected its location. Some theories connect the Grail to ancient religious groups. Others claim it was guarded by hidden societies operating for centuries. These stories have inspired countless books and films. But separating fact from fiction is extremely difficult. Most of these claims rely on speculation rather than historical evidence. Still, perhaps no group is more connected to Grail legends than the Knights Templar. Their sudden destruction in the 14th century created a mystery that has lasted for generations. Where did their wealth go? Did they hide something before their downfall? Did they discover ancient secrets during their time in Jerusalem? These questions have inspired countless theories. But historians have found no reliable evidence proving that the Templars ever possessed the Holy Grail. The connection remains one of history's greatest what-ifs. The modern world did not forget the Holy Grail. Instead, it transformed the legend. The Grail became a symbol of adventure, a mysterious object hidden behind ancient clues and dangerous obstacles. Movies and novels introduced new generations to the idea of a heroic search for the impossible. While these stories are often fictional, they reveal something important about us. Humans are naturally drawn to mysteries. We want to believe that somewhere out there, there are still secrets waiting to be uncovered. The search for the Holy Grail is part of something much larger. Throughout history, humans have searched for the unknown. We explore oceans looking for lost ships. We dig through ruins, searching for forgotten civilizations. We study the stars, looking for answers about the universe. The Grail represents this same human desire, the belief that something extraordinary may still be waiting beyond what we already know. Imagine, for a moment, that tomorrow, archaeologists announced they had discovered the true Holy Grail, a cup scientifically proven to have been connected to Jesus Christ. The discovery would change history forever. Religious scholars would study it. Historians would debate it. Millions would travel to see it. But perhaps the most interesting question would not be, what is the Grail? It would be, why did humanity spend so many centuries searching for it? Maybe the true power of the Holy Grail was never inside a cup. Maybe its power came from the journey itself. For medieval knights, it represented the search for purity. For explorers, it represented discovery. For historians, it represents the challenge of uncovering the truth. And for millions of people today, it remains a reminder that some mysteries are powerful because they are never completely solved. So, did the Holy Grail really exist? Perhaps it was a real cup lost somewhere in history. Perhaps it was transformed by centuries of storytelling. Or perhaps the Grail was never meant to be found. Because sometimes the greatest legends are not created by the answers we discover, but by the questions we continue asking. The Holy Grail has survived wars, centuries, and countless attempts to uncover its secrets. Whether it is a lost relic or an unforgettable legend, its story has become part of human history. A story about faith, a story about curiosity, a story about humanity's endless search for something greater than ourselves. The question remains, will the Holy Grail ever be found? Perhaps only time will tell. Thank you for watching the video. Enjoy the rest of your day.